Hello, welcome to our little shop. Today was delivery day. So we got a pretty nice little box here from Florida. Anybody want to guess what's in it? I already know. I had a forewarning. Well, this is what I found in the box. This belongs to an old, long-time friend, customer of mine from Florida, who we refer to as Sir Arthur. And Sir Arthur has the uncanny ability to find this kind of stuff. This guy could fall in a septic tank and come out and smell like a rose, but anyway, that's beside the point. He's a good guy. He just happens on to really messed up stuff for a good deal. So this may look like a mutt at first glance, but we'll get into it a little bit deeper. I just want to show you what I unpacked. We're also going to give you a quick look here at the back before we take it to the bench, just to show you what we've got. Give you an idea here. We've got some peeled off Tolex, a few other things. We're going to take this in the back and really check it out. We're going to get into it. We're going to get pretty in depth in this. For those of you that can't really tell what this is a late transition model deluxe amp. It's actually a brown face. Probably should have come out of the factory with brown Tolex. But it's very dirty. You can't really tell what it is. But that's the story. Okay, we'll give you another view here of the back. Obvious things I've seen right off the bat here is, of course, here the AC plug's been changed. We have a Guam Nichols speaker in it. So I doubt seriously that was stock. It looks like it's been resoldered anyway. It came in with a Mollard GZ34 in it, 2 Sylvania 6L6s, and I believe 3 tongue saw 12X7s, original ones. Okay, that's a 7025. Man, those things are stuck. Okay, can't really tell what that one is. Look into that deeper. And there is the tongue saw. So we're going to tear into this and give you an idea of what's going on. When he called me, we got talking about it on the phone. I said, do not even plug it in, which he didn't do, thankfully. Well, the first things I always do is check the fuse. Well, here's another one. I'm very thankful that he didn't turn this amp on in case there is something wrong with it. So what we've got here is the old foil around the fuse trick. Alright. So after I unwrapped the fuse here, I found out that what it is a 1 amp fast acting fuse that's blown. You can see the dots there on it where it burnt on the inside. About 4 dots. So yeah, there we go. This is the reason I always check the fuses first thing. Also the reason I told him not to run the amplifier, because we don't know what's in it, what's wrong. So there we go. Well, after a bit of a struggle with a few corroded and really stuck mounting bolts, we got the chassis out of the cabinet. I was afraid I was going to have to break off a couple of bolts, but I got them loose and got them out. Like I say, this stuff from Florida I'm seeing a lot of times have been really corroded up pretty bad. So we look in here. This amp, I think, is pretty much untouched, right down to all the cobwebs. But anyway, I mean, yeah, it's dirty. It's really kind of nasty, yeah. But that doesn't bother me as much as all this corrosion on these wires. But that's something that happens. Something I want to point out again here, since it's handy. I hear a lot of hubbub about people and their meticulous wiring and the way they do everything, and you know, guys, take a lesson from this. Look at this heater wiring in this old Fender. Look at the lead dress on the preamp leads. These things aren't flying around all over the place and longer than they have to be. I get really tired of seeing these guys talk about what a nice wiring job they've done on their amplifiers that they're building or modifying or whatever, and it's like a bird's nest. There's a right way and a wrong way to do things. This is the right way. So let's flip it over and see what we've got on the other side. I'm pretty sure we're going to find stock filter caps. While I was getting ready to throw this over on the other side, I thought I'd give you a closer look up here at these input jacks and pots. How scrungy all this is up in here. Yeah, this is going to get the works. So the really good news here is all the transformers are original. Like I say, I think this amp is pretty much untouched. But that's over with. I'm going to be touching it all over. Anyway, take a look down here. We have the original caps. You can see where we've got some oozing going on there. That doesn't surprise me either. I have current limited this amplifier and brought up on a Variac, and you know what? It runs. It's got some sporadic noises, but I've just now fired it up, so I'm sure that'll get worse. Got a good bit of hum in the front end you can hear. That's from that one leaky filter cap for the front end. Yep, there comes the thunderstorm. I think we're going to find that we're going to end up replacing a bunch of resistors in this amp as usual. And something else I'm going to point out here. This shop does not deal in frivolous cork sniffing. So I will not be digging through a bunch of old resistors to find old carbon comp resistors to use in this amplifier. I'll be using metal oxide resistors in the power supply, and I may even use some carbon films in the preamp. We'll see. Sir Arthur will be using it in his studio. I am way into function over form, so I will take reliability time after time after time over frivolous tone chasing of things that really don't matter a whole lot, just because it's the way they used to do it. Let's talk for a moment about that for just a second. Years ago, all these amplifiers were built with military spec carbon composition resistors because that's what they had, and they were military specs that were better. We don't really have that anymore. All our stuff is being imported. So, moving on from that. But checking this a little bit more and start tearing it down. This is going to be, like I say, I'm going to be over every inch of this amp. It's got to be torn down, scrubbed, clean, ground's all taken care of. I want it in pristine working order to give it back to Sir Arthur. So away we go. Well, we've begun the preliminary disassembly. Demo day. Anyway, For those inquiring minds that want to know, I've already checked these resistors and they are way out of tolerance. Same thing with the caps. These two actually read pretty close. This one read like over 100 microfarads. It's supposed to be 16. This one reads 0. That was the preamp filter cap that I was talking about being bad and humming. That's what was leaking. I'm also going to gut this board and dry it out well. Got to make sure there's no moisture in this thing from being laying around in Florida. There. Power supply board's done. Give you a little look here. You notice there's none of those little funky J clips or anything sticking up here. These solder joints are all done like they were done to factory originally. It's the right way. It's the only way I do it here. Just seems to be the right thing to do. It doesn't take that much longer to do it right, but that's why I do it that way. We've powered her up and checked the power supply, so that's all good. Her voltage is a little high, but I did bump up one filter a little bit in the main filter for the power supply. I went to a 40 microfarad instead of a 16 for the first filter. That'll tighten up the base response a little bit and give us some more clarity here. But I think the bigger problem here with the high voltage is the tubes, I think, are so worn that they're just not really drawing a lot of current. One of them is actually drawing about 12 milliamps. The other one, on the other hand, is drawing about 25. So they're not matched well anyway. Of course, they're old. I mean, I swear, I think they're probably the original tubes. But anyway, I had to get it this far to see where we are. We've still got a little bit of noises, but I got rid of some to start with. And of course, our hum's going. I've actually got this preamp dimed at this point, so we have no hum from that anymore. So I'm going to start really tearing this thing down. We're going to take this whole front end down. We're just, this needs a major cleaning, and it's going to get it. We're going to clean the ground bus in the front, the ground plane panel. Got to clean all the jacks, all the pots. Going to scrub the front panel so that you can actually tell it's brown and not black. Same thing will probably happen to the rear one back here. So not only do we have electronics cleaning to do as far as corroded grounds and all that, but we've got a lot of cosmetic cleaning to do too at the same time. So, moving on. There you go. There's the interesting shot of the crud underneath the knobs. So we have everything off the front panel here. You can see all of our pots and everything all strung about. But I've cleaned up the inside of the front of the chassis. I've scrubbed up the ground plane here really well, front and back, and the bottom. Can't see it very well, but there you go. So it is all clean. I'll actually be soldering it to the chassis in a few places too and put it back in. But we're going to turn our attention over here to the faceplate. Let me reach over here and grab it real quick. It's pretty nasty. We're going to try, there's a spot I cleaned. Okay, we're going to clean up this entire faceplate. And we'll do that while the chassis is drying after I wipe it down on the inside with alcohol. So I'll be back. There. Front panel's all cleaned up. Everything's back in place. All we have to do there is clean the pots. I've already cleaned the jacks up. They're in good shape. So I will clean the pots after I finish up everything else inside the front of the amp. One of the tricks I use is I take the original strain relief here that was used in the amplifier and file the center of it out round instead of flat, and use these little 18 gauge AC cables in them. I cut the IEC connector off and hardwire them in. You've got the original strain relief. It looks original, except you have a grounded cable. I also have the bias board finished. Everything here has been replaced, including the diode. We don't want any failures. At this point, we have the power amp finished. As you can see, I've changed a bunch of stuff here. The plate load resistors and the bias feed resistors here for the 6V6s were way off spec. Some of them as many as 10 to 15,000 ohms off. So that was changed, of course. End up changing our coupling cap over here into the phase inverter. That ceramic cap that was original was very noisy. That was part of the arcing we had. That's part of this thunderstorm. The resistors right here and right here were close enough that I left them alone. They're not being changed. I had to go over here and tweak my biasing just a little bit. Actually needed a 3.5K resistor here for my bias. So I actually had to make one of those up. But at this point, it's running. In fact, you can't hear it, but the power amp's running. So check this out. So it's sitting here running. Pretty quiet. So I'm going to take a lunch break and then get back at it. As I said, I had to make a resistor here to get my bias where I wanted it. I wanted it to come in at about 20 mils per tube on the plate current without measuring the screen current. So I'm only measuring the plate current. And this is what I have. So I'm kind of happy with that. I'll let that go. Let's get on with the rest of this amp. Well, it looks like we might actually be finished here. I've replaced all the out-of-spec parts here in the front end also. So all this has been taken over. New cathode bypass caps. A lot of the original coupling caps were still okay, so we left them. Anything that wasn't changed has been checked and was within tolerance and left. This is what we're looking at so far. We've got just almost 6 hours in this amp so far. But I believe the amp at this point is finished. We have his original tongue saw tubes are still very good, so I actually kept 2 of those. One of them was noisy, but the gain was good on them. They were quiet. Microphonics was good, so they're in the front 2 positions. We've got a new JJ for a phase inverter. We've got 2 new JJ 6V6s. I left his original Mullard GZ34 because I just wanted to. Frankly, nothing sounds like one of them. So as long as it's good, I'm using it. I cleaned all the pots. At this point, all the tube sockets, everything's all good there. Talk about some of these parts we changed. In the preamp here, we had a lot of plate load resistors and stuff I changed. Some of these resistors were as much as 30,000 ohms out of tolerance. Looking over here at our bypass caps, these were supposed to be 25 microfarad capacitors. So of these 3, here's one that read 93, here's one that read 258, and there's one that read 312. So they had drifted quite a bit too. I've said it time and time and time again. The cool thing about cool old amplifiers is they're cool old amplifiers. The bad thing about cool old amplifiers is everything in a cool old amplifier is usually worn out. So I'm adamant about checking everything here. I don't like them to come back, especially this guy is several states away. So it's going to be right when it leaves. So anyway, like I said, we've got the amp taken care of. Now I need to turn my attention to the speaker cabinet. So that's going to be another job of its own. So I'm going to set this amp aside, let it run for a few days while I'm doing the speaker cabinet. That way, if any problems show up during a burn-in, we can be sure that that can be taken care of too before it goes out the door. So let's move this aside and get on with the cabinet. So let's take another look here before I start tearing this speaker cabinet down. We've got the original wheat grill and the black Tolex. Now, as I mentioned earlier, that is not a typical combination. What we believe is this is a late 63 amp. Actually, while I was rebuilding the amp, I found out that the bias circuit really does not match the schematic for the amplifier. It actually has a different biasing using a bias tap on the power transformer, like the later black-face Deluxes, instead of the voltage dropping resistor coming off the main AC secondary for the power supply and dropping down to make your bias. So what we believe has happened is in the transition between the brown amplifiers and the black, the cabinets are exactly the same size. So what we believe has happened is this one ended up leaving the factory in a black cabinet with the wheat grill. It also has a very strange brown handle on it. And like I say, the grill is very, move my shadow here, the grill is very stained and dirty. We're going to try to clean this. My pal Carson was down here the other night. We were looking this amp over. We originally thought it had been recovered, but the more I looked at it, the corners and everything are done exactly like Fender would have. So I'm pretty sure this is a stock Fender cabinet. But the other thing funny happened was, hang on, I'll spin around and show you the back of it. So here we are taking a look here at the back. And like I say, I'm pretty sure this is original Fender cover job. It's got the nail-in feet and all that. Tube chart's pretty much worse for wear. Looks to me like it's had some insect nibbling going on. And like I say, we are about 90% sure this is not an original speaker. So what I'm going to do is tear this down and get ready to start working on it. Something else funny, I mentioned earlier it didn't have any back panels on it. Well, something else really odd, if you notice, there's no screw holes in the Tolex. There, okay. Odd thing even more, the pilot holes are drilled, but they've never had threads in them. So this cabinet never had back panels on it. Who knows, it may have been something that an employee got out of the factory or whatever, but like I say, these have never had screws in them. So let's tear this down and get to cleaning. We're going to try to salvage the original grill and the Tolex. Originally, Sir Arthur and I had talked about recovering it and re-grilling it and making it a really cool brown amplifier. We've come to the conclusion that if this is actually a rare bird that it is mistakenly actually sent out or snuck out of the factory this way, we're going to leave it just for the cool factor. So I'm going to get into this cabinet. I have begun the cleaning process of the grill. So we've got to let this dry and see how that works out. The sound you hear is exhaust fan. Spray carpet cleaner is a little stinky. I have cleaned out the cabinet here pretty well and done a little bit more checking. So it's ready to start gluing Tolex back down. Like I said, I've cleaned all the crud out of the nooks and crannies here on it. Something else is down here. I have fabricated a couple back panels for it. I was chatting with my pal Jeffro over in Bug Tussle the other night at the groovy little hippie pad guitar and amplifier conservatory, and he supplied me with the measurements for these back panels off of his brown Deluxe. So that was very nice of him. So I'm going to start getting this together here to get these covered. I'm going to start spreading Tolex glue and got to get with it. There. You can see we have our Tolex all re-glued, straightened out there. We still have to do some gluing of the corners and some little edges like this, but we will get that tomorrow. We've also got our back panels covered. Looks like, there we go. Those are all ready. It's been a day, so I'm going to call it and get back on this in the morning. So our cleanup of the cabinet begins. We have started with a good soaking of 409. We're going to let it sit there a while and eat on some of this crud a little bit. Then we're going to hit it with a scrub brush, hit it with some more 409. I've already scrubbed this thing a few times. So I have the grill and baffle all cleaned up here, and the cabinet's clean. I was getting ready to bolt up the speaker and ran into something where this bolt here is a little loose. It actually spins, so you can't tighten it up. So I'm going to give you a quick tip here. This is what the paper towel's in here for. I always put a little something behind it in case there's a little drippage, which we don't really want, but it can happen, so be careful. And drop a couple drops of super glue around it and then spin it. Okay? Give it a few minutes to set up and it'll be cured. Something I end up doing in here a lot, that you find these screws are stripped out of the baffles. So there you go, a little quick tip. Well, we've got the speaker remounted. You may notice this is a different speaker. I just happened to find in my stash a 63 Oxford 12K5 that someone had donated. So I reconed it and put a new terminal strip on here, and we were ready to go. So whoever donated it, Sir Arthur, thanks you. Occasionally a customer will come in here with something. They're working on these vintage amps and they'll replace the original blown or damaged speaker with something, and they'll just give me the old speaker and say, here, if you can use it, use it. So I stash them. So in this case, someone donated a really decent 12K5 to put this back to original condition. So there we go. Well, here we are, all finished up. Got quite a bit of time in this one. A lot of work as far as cleaning up and all that. Frankly, I haven't sat down and totaled up the time yet, but I will. So I want to show you the back here. We've got our new back panels, our new-ish original speaker from my stash has been reconed. All in all, this has come out really well. We found out, I'd mentioned earlier that the power transformer was questionable. What the deal was there, it is truly a black face power transformer. So this is definitely one of the last brown face amplifiers in the transition period. So we've got a brown amplifier with a black face power transformer in a black face cabinet. So hang on a minute, I'll spin this around, let you see how the front come out. This amp really came out looking nice. So there's you another look at the front. You can see there's a couple stains that didn't clean out of the grill. Actually, I'm wondering, the one on the right there, you can see it's kind of square shaped. I'm actually wondering if there was something hanging in front of this amplifier when the grill faded, because it's not acting like a stain and it's pretty square. Real nice little rectangle right there, almost like a tag of some kind. Then there's some rust spots on the left hand side just below the volume knob that I had a hard time getting out, but I'm going to let it go. We've got the original grill, the original Tolex, original knobs. Basically everything in this amp is still pretty much original as far as transformers, cabinet, grill. Like I said, I've mentioned, we've replaced it with an original speaker also. The hardware was really rusty, but surprisingly, let me get up here, let's check this out. Surprisingly, it cleaned up pretty well too. So there we go with our funky brown handle. Like I say, all the hardware came out pretty well. All in all, I'm pretty pleased with this. Oh yeah, the faceplate looks great. Anyway, I'm sure Sir Arthur will enjoy having this. Like I say, he's never played through it, so he has no idea what's going on. To recap, like I say, he found an amplifier had been used, abused, neglected, and probably stored for some time with aluminum foil around the fuse. Wrong speaker and all kinds of stuff going on, but like I say, it's kind of a rare bird. It's one of those things that slipped out of the Fender factory. Who knows how it got out this way, but it did. And after years, it's ready to go back into service. So I'm going to let it sit here and run for a few more days. I'm going to pack it up and send it back to the Sunshine State. So, till next time, play nice,